So one player on the Packers who has recently started to play really, really well, especially this past week against the New York Giants, is Tucker Kraft, tight end, third-round draft pick from this season. Of course, the Packers spent 2 of their draft picks on tight ends in this draft, with Luke Musgrave being drafted in round 2, Tucker Kraft then being drafted in round 3. And Tucker Kraft didn't really have too much going for him early in the season. He didn't have a ton of snaps early in the season. Through the first 9 weeks of the season, he only had 2 targets. But since that point, he's had a lot more opportunity in the passing game, especially since Luke Musgrave went down with a lacerated kidney against the Chargers a few weeks back. Luke Musgrave has missed the past 3 games against the Lions, Chiefs, and the Giants. And with Luke Musgrave not taking all those snaps, Tucker Kraft has had a lot more opportunity. And we saw this past week Tucker Kraft have his best game of the season. If you look at his stats here, you can see the past 5 or so games, he's slowly been, increasing his workload. In this past game, he had his biggest day when it came to receiving yards, 4 receptions for 64 yards. There was a nice play. It was either third or fourth quarter. I think it was fourth quarter. Jordan Love drops back, hits Tucker Kraft deep down the middle of the field. Kraft bounces off one guy, sort of drags another guy with him. And I think we've sort of seen his yards after catch ability. And that was one thing I remember after the draft, that when you look at all of his NFL scouting profiles, is he's very prolific when it comes to his ability to, extend plays, his ability to carry guys with him. He's a very strong physical player. And I think that's one difference between him and Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave seems to be able to get more wide open with that speed and his ability, almost like a receiver at times, to just sort of stretch the seam, stretch the field. But Luke Musgrave has showed a tendency to not really be able to withstand contact or hits, and he seems to trip a lot for whatever reason, probably because he's a longer, taller guy, and so he doesn't have quite the base and the foundation that a slightly shorter, weighing more guy like Tucker Kraft, he has the ability to carry guys with him and really be more dangerous after the catch, and really has that ability to carry, players with him. And so it's been nice to see Tucker Kraft step up in that role, because if he hadn't, the Packers would clearly be struggling even more at tight end. In this offseason, the plan was from Brian Gutekunst to draft tight ends, to move on from the previous veterans who had been here, Robert Tonyan, Mercedes Lewis. And Tonyan, I don't think for the past few years, ever since his injury when he had that great season, he just was never very good when it came to after the catch. He seemed pretty slow as of late in his career. Mercedes Lewis, on the other hand, was more of a run blocker. And so it's nice to have a injection of talent here at tight end for the Packers. And the fact that both Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft are still only rookies, I think just sort of shows what the Packers are going to be able to do when it comes to their playmakers at tight end. And here's a quote from Matt LaFleur after this past game about Tucker Kraft. He said this: "If you look just throughout the course of the season, you could argue he's just as improved as anybody. He's consistently making plays, and he's doing a good job. You see the production in the passing game, but I think the run game has gotten so much better." And that's one other aspect of his game that has looked nice as of late, especially, is his ability to run block. There were definitely many different blocks on Monday where he was, just sort of staying with his guy, open in lanes. And if we look at his PFF pass block, or his pass block and run blocking grade, his past 2 games, especially when it comes to run blocking, have been his best of the season, with or almost best of the season, 70.5 grade against the New York Giants, which was his best run blocking grade per PFF of the season. The week before that, 65.5 grade. He'd only had 1 grade better than that when it came to run blocking back in week 7, 67.8. And so it's nice to see him continually taking strides forward, and with the added opportunity because of Musgrave's injury, he's really taken advantage, and I think that the Packers seems like they got a steal in the 3rd round, and we'll see if he can keep building on this. We don't know how much longer Luke Musgrave is going to be out with that lacerated kidney. It could be the rest of the season, hopefully not, but regardless, Tucker Kraft has had a really nice few games with Luke Musgrave missing time. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.